You are born every morning and you die every night. I've always liked running. It has felt natural in my body, like the sun's chariot across the sky. Endless, burning, necessary. I like the sensation of gasping for the next breath, as if it were my last, anchoring me into the most basic need to exist, leaving no room for worry. I've run so far, circling, searching for something, but mostly fleeing, like Apollo guiding the sun across the firmament. You cannot stop, or all would be scorched. You are born every morning, and you die every night. Today, I stand in a city I dreamt of 6 years ago. If I told the David of a dawn ago that I'd be writing this from Granada, he would wonder how that could ever be. And yet here I am, beneath a sun that feels ancient, familiar, the same sun that drives across the heavens, reminding me that home is not land, nor sea, but body. A vessel of fire, renewed each dawn. You are born every morning, and you die every night. I love the small things, but also the vast. I love to love and to lust. I see how a dead patch of grass may, like a laurel reborn from loss, turn into a garden where dreams take root. I like to zoom into details and then step back into the wide view, sometimes peering ahead into prophecies of laps yet to come. I like to run, but also to lay, to fly, but also to make a cave. I like movies, but also ancient plays, to write, but also to speak. The rising sun and its defeat. Today, I too am the sun. Another cycle, another dawn. 29 laps around the sun. I wrote this text on my birthday. I went up to the mountain just to see the sunrise. I just really wanted to see the sunrise a lot of days ago, and I'm like, this is the perfect day. For my birthday, I'm gonna go up there, go up to the mountain, go up to the forest, and just reconnect with myself to just like make it special. And so I wrote this text about these 29 laps around the sun, these 29 years of existing here on Earth, experimenting this interesting life that just feels like it's constantly changing. And I do feel that the topic of identity has definitely been spinning around in my head. And then I got to this text written by, let me check here. I got to this text written by Alexander Douglas. I think it's called Essence is Fluttering. Yes. Anyways, I got to this text called Essence is Fluttering by Alexander Douglas, who is like a senior lecturer in philosophy at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, UK. And I started reading it and it just started really resonating with me during this period of turning, 29. It just felt like it was just hitting like the right spots in me. And that it has been a certain topic that actually since last year, also around my birthday, I was just like, thinking about it over and over again. Obviously, it's been a whole year and I'm in a completely different place, in a completely different continent. And obviously my perspective on my identity has definitely changed. How to be yourself. And so we hear this all the time. Everybody tells us, just be yourself. And honestly, I've caught myself mindlessly repeating the same thought, and to people as well. Like, oh, even in my tarot reading, like, oh, you just have to be yourself, be your authentic version. But what does that really mean? I mean, I never really sat with it. I never really questioned myself. What does it mean to be yourself? And is there even such a thing as a true self? Just like the Eight of Swords in the tarot, we trap ourselves in this idea of an identity that we have. For example, I have also created this online presence and this online persona through my lives, through my content, of being just like this nerdy, spiritual, esoteric, obsessed kid. And by trapping myself in this identity, I realized that I have other interests, but then I'm not creating space for myself to delve into new and different interests, because I think I'd be wasting my time knowing that I could be reading more esoteric books so that I can share this knowledge with you guys. I just created my own gel, or like my own cage of an idea and identity, which was not letting myself go back into enjoying literature, of reading nonfiction that does not have anything to do with esotericism or spiritual practices. So I was just holding on to a version of myself that was just blocking me creatively, blocking me to create videos like this, blocking me to just talk about what's happening in my life, because maybe this moment in my life is very different to the one that I've been constantly repeating, and that a part of me just wants to go back to it. I just want to go back to the videos I was creating, to feeling this excitement of just telling you about my life and my spiritual practices, because a year ago, more than a year ago, I was so constant and dedicated with my practices. I was so stuck on a same routine, but I was also living in a very completely different context, in a different country. I was living in the mountains, separated from everyone. I'm now living again in the mountain, but very close to the city, closer to society, closer to people. Going out a lot more, reading different books, also reading more in Spanish, and exploring different topics that I really enjoy. And just because I had this persona, I was just not letting myself explore this different version. Sorry, I'm distracted by the mosquito. And we always feed into this myth of a fixed personality or a fixed identity. And after reading this and also pondering on other texts that I had read before, I really think this is a myth. It is like, it's that romantic idea. It is that romantic individualism. That belief that we have to be different. That our identity and our personality has to mark a difference from our family, our society, or our friends, co-workers. That we just have to be different from others. Or we have to be authentic. And so almost all my life, I've always been clinging on to these archetypes of the nerd, the mage, the witch, in summary, outsiders. Because I always wanted to be the different one in the group. I always wanted to feel that I had something special about myself. And then I also translated this into my own spiritual practice, where I just thought and felt that deep down inside of me, there was just like this spiritual DNA, this part of my soul that doesn't change, this part of my essence that will continuously stay the same in every lifetime. But then exploring, there are different traditions and philosophies that see the soul or the essence as ever-changing. For example, I'm going to butcher his name, Zhuangzi. I'll put his name here somewhere because I don't know how to pronounce it. He says that essence is fluttering, that there is no immutable true self. Instead, our identity is dynamic, alive as a butterfly in flight. And I love that idea, and I feel that it really liberates us to not see us as just one version or a certain amount of versions, but know that all of these can intermingle and change and transform. And that also brings me back to Aristotle. I was reading Poetics thanks to this course I'm doing on literature. Well, actually rereading, but when I read it, I did not understand anything. But I really got this idea that he says that we are beings that mimic. We are beings that learn through imitation. And it is true. You see little kids and they're imitating their parents. And we will always see things of ourselves within our parents. Maybe the way we talk, the way we walk. And there's a lot of things because we learned To be human, we learn to speak by imitating, and then maybe imitating our teachers, our friends, and just other people that we find like references in our lives. We are not isolated islands. We all intermingle, and we all affect and leave a fingerprint on people, and people also affect us. And we start, getting things from these other people and culture and places that we exist in, and the books that we read and the people that we watch and the content we consume becomes the reference that we mimic. But then we also just kind of like rotate through the same ideas, political and religious beliefs, and we just stay there even if the sensation might be feeling a bit stagnant. But why is that? I, for example, come to the conclusion and that it's like the fear of death, the fear of change. And why does change feel like we're dying? We fear change because of our survival instinct. If we just think of, let's say, tomorrow I wake up and my spiritual, political, and just overall views of the world and what I think of anything is completely different, then am I really the same person? No. It's practically the same thing as dying, and then a new person is now taking possession over my being. It's practically as if I had died. And that's what letting go of an identity is. It's surrendering to change. It's surrendering to a death. And I remember I read about this a bit in Eckhart Tolle's book, A New World, I think it's called. A New Earth, where he says that when we cling strongly to our identity, which he talks about as ego, we just create a lot of suffering because all of these identities, religious beliefs, race, gender, and all of these constructs, they're unstable. And something, someone, a certain situation will make us recognize how unstable and shakeable they truly are. And when that happens, we start suffering and we just get all defensive and we don't really listen. And then we just enter the state of suffering because one of our identities, one of the things we're really clinging on to, maybe might fall apart. Maybe it is not with what I align with at a certain moment, or at least in that moment. And so that sensation that we might lose it, and because of our survival instinct to cling to it, we just start suffering. So change just takes us to impermanence. That is the natural state of things. Nothing is forever. And that means that everything has to come to an end. Even our personalities, our religious beliefs, it is constantly transforming and it will never stay in one place. I think we must meditate on this and realize that imitation and transformation, shifting our perspective, transmuting our ideals, isn't betraying ourselves. It's actually growing. So how do we contain multitudes? Which is, I guess, the solution to this clinging to an identity. So how do we become ourselves? From my perspective, it is containing multitudes and being okay with that. As a tarot teacher and as a tarot reader, we learn that we contain all of these archetypes and that we're always changing and, transforming the archetypes. We don't want to stay in one same card. If we do, that means we're stuck. If we do, it means we're stagnant and we're not, finishing the cycle. If you've ever gone into a tarot reading or if you've ever been into tarot, you know how frustrating it is when you're continuously getting one same card. That means that you're not changing. That means that you're stuck in one point. And that is where we can get the wisdom and the power of the Fool card, which is the number 0, which represents no end and no beginning, just like a circle. It is a card of limitless potential, which is the card we should embody, that we can be everything and nothing all at once. That when we learn to accept the impermanence within us, the ever-changing nature of our being, we learn to accept that in others. And that way we don't take things personal. If that person changes, if that person no longer wants to be with us, if this person wants to live a different life, if we are conscious of our own impermanence and our own changes, then we can accept that in others and just not take it personally when people want something different, because now they are a different person. So as a conclusion, to be yourself is to be formless, to be able to contain multitudes, to see things from different perspectives and not clinging so tightly onto them without identifying ourselves with our perspectives, philosophies, or ideas. To always be open to change, because that is natural. We cannot control the change of our physical body, of our emotions, and even our spiritual pursuits. And anyways, I just wanted to go on here and just ramble a bit about these ideas that have been spinning around inside my head, and that I've been also trying to embody kind of this formless being. Hopefully this nurtures my desire to create. Hopefully this nurtures my being to be more open to share with you guys, to let go of the cringe that exists within me, because sometimes filming outside I feel cringy, and to talk about these other topics that are still spiritual, because everything is spiritual, and I could just share with you guys and just be myself. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye!